Okay, there's my voice. All right, this is kind of impromptu, and but this was something I went to sleep with wanting to do, and since probably CW will be doing something before midnight, and I decided to do this a little bit earlier, and 8 o'clock is kind of somewhere between 8 and 9. So anyway, hello everybody. So let me check my live chat. Um, I don't know. I see I have one person here, so it's either Lee or Craig. Probably Lee. So hello, Lee. And so I wrote down community teams, cause and effect, trolling. So that's kind of like that'll be like the first part of what I want to talk about. Oh boy, what a mess. I really do need a shampoo. And then I want to speak about Uncle Butchie and some of the things I'm trying to do in this deliciously small town of, I think it's under like 700 people. And it's called Floyd, Virginia. And what I want to be doing in the form of live streams from a musical perspective. And before I go into that, let me just, a couple of shout outs. I saw Joe from the Carolinas. Hello, Joe. I don't know how often you tune into my stuff. Let me mute my mic for that one. That's better. So, so Joe put up a live stream that I guess went up yesterday or today with his band. I think they're called Filthy Weasels, and they're a punk band. And he put out, I think it's like a 24-minute video of a performance, or part of a performance they did. And it might be longer than 24 minutes, but that's what seems to be in my head. And was really, the sound was decent. The video was excellent. I mean, it was really, the camera was there. It was completely it was completely synced with the music and gave you a few different ways of looking at it. Very professional as far as the camera work went. You can only have as many lights as a light show, but the lighting was sufficient. And the vocals were a little subdued, but I don't know if that was really the mixing or just kind of like how it was there. But man, Joe, thank you for doing that. So I think I'm going to recycle back to Joe and something, and I even wrote, because I've been talking with my band Uncle Butchie, and I'm going to want to meet with some people, but that's for the end of the show, because I feel like I need to cover some difficult, mildly difficult, because it's critique of ourselves. Looking at ourselves, I guess it's as difficult as wanting to be the best you can be is perceived by you. Oh my God, what a mess. That's a little better. Anyway, so I'm really seeing some good community stuff happening. And I saw a really nice, I don't like the word nice. I saw a really good comment from a poster. His first name is Robert, and his last name begins with an E. And he left a comment because Raksha and CW did a show together. Was it? This is almost Thursday night. I have to actually think about where we are sometimes. So it was on Thursday night, and this person called it a community twofer, and in many ways it was a community twofer, and because CW, I mean, there's a lot of overlap, but there's also in that overlap there would be like certain people who are like, we'll call them ardent CW followers, or enjoyers, appreciators of what he does. I don't like followers. I don't like fans, because fans comes from fanatic. And our languaging, if we're going to really get clear and say what we mean, we'll start examining our language. We'll trip, we'll stumble. It's all part of learning to walk correctly or talk correctly. And let me just, while I'll just very quickly just check. There's a few people there. Hello, Craig. And somebody, I guess, hasn't revealed himself, and it doesn't matter. So as we're, I'm seeing great stuff. I really like the way CW's peeps and the normal Moose Lodge type peeps, how they blended together. A very special shout out to our friend Reemsey. Reemsey he's in a lot of different areas, and he provided such a unique kind of a glue to people who kind of do things a little differently. I mean, you could even if you look at usernames, if you look at some of the usernames of the people who appreciate CW, some of them have usernames you don't want to read while you're eating. That's that's how they get their lols. That's what they that's their style. And so when it was really funny in the pre-show, because it started a little late, and then you have people, and in many ways the CW people are a lot more. They're kind of like, it's almost like going out to the bars on a Saturday night. And if you go into your favorite bar, you might come in and go, "Hey, fuck you, you bunch of losers. I love you." I mean, again, I come from the Bronx. I kind of know that way of rolling. And I could even talk that way, but one of the reasons I kind of removed myself from that milieu is that I guess I grew up. is how I feel about it. But again, that's just my take. It's a subjective opinion. And, we have to go through the whole everybody, like assholes, everybody has opinions. But I thought it was I thought it was wonderful, and how two really different styles of people got it together. And it was a little bit It was like two neighborhoods getting together, and they like different music and have different jargon, stuff like that. But it worked. And Reemsey, I think occasionally you might watch my stuff. You were masterful. You were just like, you knew us, you knew them, and you knew how to include everybody in your very unique sense of humor. And it just really, you made what could have been a little bit of what could have been a neighborhood scuffle of sorts into something very beautiful. And I'm really happy with that. But then there's things about, to me, communities, a functioning community with real world cyber doesn't make a difference, is really a team. And a team is based on people who all know each other well, know their skill sets, and look and find places where they might be strong where somebody isn't, and know where to bring that strength when it's needed. There's a real participation in the dynamics and real-time shifts, and how each of us, with our skill sets, and online, much of that skill set is our psychology and our wisdom, and how that can be applied. And then, so the interesting thing about being in a community is that balance between autonomy and sovereignty and being part of a team. And so when you're part of a team, it's kind of like a lot of your interactions involve the team, even when you think you're solo. One of the best examples I can use is when I had my band Radagast. Now this is going back into the 80s. And we had a guitar player, and he was a little bit influenced by Motley Crue. Motley Crue kind of was a West Coast band, and they were kind of known for being almost a band and a gang. And they prided themselves in the fights they got into in bars, and it was like, you don't fuck with Motley Crue. All right. So he was kind of influenced by that kind of badass rock and roll band. Now, I come from the Bronx. I know what badass is. I know what rumbles are. I know one time I left the Bronx with Bronx people. We went out to Long Island to a bar. And, I mean, a full-scale brawl broke out. I remember, like, within arm's distance, because I was at the very end. It was a long bar. It curved around, and it went into a wall. And I was basically right next to the wall. I had myself, and then I guess I had my wife, my third wife, kind of like, you know, tucked into the wall next to me, maybe her sister also. But I mean, while we're drinking, I mean, the bartender puts his butt on the bar, swings around, and then jumps on the backs of people in there. I'm holding a drink in my hand, and there's two people at my feet wrestling, and occasionally they're bumping into me, and I'll hold my drink in my right hand, I have my left hand, and I have my hand on the person on top of the other person. I have my hand kind of like on their sacral, you know, lumbar area, you know, the lower back, for those who don't know those terms. And occasionally be pushing towards me, and I would just kind of gently kind of guide him away from me, and again, it gently was important because it had to be that, I mean, again, everybody's leaning against each other, so the fact that you feel somebody else's body somehow on you in a rumble, if it isn't attacking you, it's something you can ignore. So I was actually able to hold my drink in my hand, keep my wife safe in the corner, and actually just every time they were trying to come up, I would kind of like just guide them away. It kind of came up, and because their energy was moving, I was able to move it away. And eventually it all broke up. But I mean, a good half. I mean, there were people where I was sitting. They were around that, and they were all. And when I looked, there was nobody there anymore. I mean, they were still there, but they were below. They were below the level of the bar. But anyway, so this guitar player friend, when we went out to a bar, we'd never been. This was out on Long Island, and I had a standing thing. I said, "Look, if trouble starts, come to me. We will prevail." So anyway, so we went out. It was about 4 of us. I was thinking it was my drummer, the guitar player, myself, and my wife, who was the keyboard player, and I was the bass player. And the name of the band was Radagast. And all of a sudden, he comes over because he's over at the bar talking to some people, and he happened to be talking to a big burly guy. I figured, you know, so he comes over. He goes, "Hey, remember you said if any trouble, you know, starts, we should, you know, I should come and tell you?" He said, "Well, that guy over at the bar, I told him if he was dying of thirst in the desert, I wouldn't piss in his mouth." You said, "What?" I said, "If he was dying of thirst in the desert, I wouldn't piss in his mouth." So, you know, and he's not happy about it. Duh. So anyway, I kind of did a quick kind of psychic scan and went, this is about to get real. And fortunately, there was a main, you know, there was a front entrance, and from where we were, and we were kind of sitting along this wall, and there was the bathrooms. But also right after the bathrooms was the back exit, and the back exit was the parking lot where the car was parked. So I very quietly said, "I'm going to go to the bathroom," and I said, "and I want the rest of you to go out the back door." And tell Craig, that was the name of the guitar player, to join us or deal with it by himself. And so we managed to look like we're going to the bathroom as we're all slipping out the door. And as we're pulling out of the parking lot, this big burly guy and 3 or 4 other guys are looking for us, but we're waving goodbye. Why do I bring up this story? Because this team, this backup I offered my guitar player, wasn't the kind of backup where you go out there and don't tell the rest of us what you plan to do, and then come back and tell me the big man's coming to get me, when you did something as fucking stupid as say I wouldn't piss in your mouth if you were dying of thirst in the desert. That's being a fucking troll. That's being a troublemaker. That's swatting a hornet's nest. People who swat hornet's nests should be left to get stung, in my opinion. You know, go prepare the vinegar and the mud and the other things that they'll need after their stings. But that was a stupid fucking thing to do. And you didn't consult. You have a team. You know something? Before you go do something, you better consult your team. Okay? If you want a team backup, don't go acting solo. And then when you get in trouble, you come back and go, "Hey team, you got my back?" Yeah, we got your back if we knew what you're going to do. And if we had some input, they're like, nah, I think that's a dumb idea. You're on your own if you proceed on that. So to me, part of community and teamwork is you don't go into other neighborhoods scream a bad word, kick over, break a few windows, grab a few asses, and then come running back to your neighborhood with them all chasing you going, hey people, I got trouble. Yeah, you do. And so for me, the whole part of a team is coordination. And so communities are teams. So this is, and of course, the other subject, cause and effect. If you hit a hornet's nest, they're coming after you. So the wisdom is don't hit hornet's nests. And if again, if a hornet's nest is such a problem, either do it right, let the rest of your team know. Maybe the rest of your team wants to be involved. But to be part of a group and then go rogue and solo and do your own thing and then come back and go, I got into trouble. And then when you explain how you got into trouble, you go, well, you could have avoided that trouble by not doing what you did. That was dumb. So I'm going to take a breather here. I need a little water. And I'm going to look at the live chat and see how this idea is progressing. Okay, I got 6 people. Darcy, hello. Let me just read a few of the things so I can catch up, make sure. Nikki 6 is a trip. Nikki 6 is a trip. Hello, Darcy. Haven't said hello to you. So I guess I've caught everybody. Got Craig, Lee, and Darcy covered. That's good. So, okay, so let me get back to my thing here. And to me, there's, also with regards to trolling, I mean, I'm finding out now that apparently people have, like, what are called sock accounts, where, like, everybody, it would be kind of like, I don't know, if, I have one account, I'm ModWiz125. But I could start another account and, maybe call myself Backed Up Sewer. Be kind of commensurate with a lot of names I see out there. And then as Backed Up Sewer, I go on to anybody's channel and I write all kinds of ridiculous shit. And know I can get away with it, because then I can come back and act all sagacious and ModWizzy. While, what was the name I made up? I don't know. While that person goes out and does fuckery. Fuckery is fuckery and trolling is trolling. And to me, trolling is unacceptable. Trolling is punk behavior. I mean, and even, CW, I, as a Gnostic, as somebody who adores the divine feminine and considers it the glue and the primal energy of this planet or this earth, to see women in high heels gyrating, in silhouettes, that was a huge turnoff, and it was a real turnoff coming from a woman, because I don't consider that. To me, that's not the divine feminine. That's the slut feminine, and the dark feminine, and it's the dark feminine dancing for the dark masculine. And by dark, I just mean not coming to our full light. But there was to me, I feel I could quit. I mean, if I had done that, and I almost thought about doing that, I would have questioned, come on, Rachel, what are you doing here, man? Are you really? I mean, I understand the marketing, the archontic marketing. We live in an archontic world. So anything that makes sense in this world, as far as like, oh, that's the proper way to marketing, this is how you do that, all that stuff is from a fucked up world. Is it logical? Does it make sense if you want to do A, B, or C? Oh, yeah. But are we going to change the paradigm or stay in the same old paradigm? Because right now we're in that paradigm and we might as well just do what's smart in that paradigm so we can benefit from it. If you feed the monster stays well. I'm not going to say it gets larger, but it stays. So, and then, I thought it got a little ad hominem. I thought it got a little, I mean, again, there are nuances in the way we do this, and I think there's a way to go after ideas and things that people do, and in a way of questioning. It's like, what are you thinking? I mean, I've done, was it an impulse, and now you're kind of going, from a marketing standpoint, it was kind of brilliant, but from where we're trying to move from the cesspool onto the sand, we'll call it. Do we get there by doing what's smart in the cesspool system? I don't think so. So, and then, of course, I'm a content creator. I don't have a sock account. So I couldn't really, okay, so what I thought that CW gave the treatment, a typical kind of CW heavy-handed approach. But then there was Rachel's reply, which was unacceptable. And I'm really glad that she took it down. I'm very happy that she took it down, because she called our friend CW a pedophile or pedo or whatever. And this is, I mean, that's an accusation. That's ad hominem. That's cheap. It's cheesy. It's not valid. Anybody can do it. A child could do it. It's so easy. A caveman could do it. Matter of fact, that's caveman behavior, when you have caveman in a negative kind of cartoonish visual. So anyway, and I would have liked to have let her have it, but there are a lot of these people, especially when they have 1,000 and above subscribers, they have adoring fans. Okay? Fans from Fanatic. And for me as a content creator, to go over and drop some shit in her channel means, okay, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So I shit in her channel, so her fans come over and shit in my channel. Do I want that? No. So cause and effect is, as much as I would have liked to have called around and say unacceptable. Actually, I'm doing it here, because again, I don't have a channel to her. She seems to, like to keep to herself, except for what promotes her. She's very promotional. She is who she is. I'm not knocking her. I'm knocking the presentation of women in her product. And as an herbalist, from what I can tell from her ingredients, they're excellent ingredients. I think it's a fine product. I think I would give it the Modern Wizard seal of approval if I, held it in my hand and knew everything. I don't think it's so important, but she has spoken about it. I am an herbalist. It sounded like a darn good herbal blend to me. I really didn't like the marketing. But the ad hominem of calling somebody a pedophile based on how they responded or something, that's just, we can't do this. This is not okay. And I don't care whether it's an AI watching, an alphabet agency watching, some board, global controller. Let's see if the people are still behaving as atrociously as they always have, so we can still justify treating them like the shit we're calling them. Oh, we just checked in. Yeah, they're still shit. Again, they only have our behaviors and how we act with each other to kind of look in and see, how the plebes are doing. I think we can stand back and be objective and just kind of look at this and just say, this is a representation of our communities, our alternative community, and we're still throwing shit at each other. To me, what Rachel did, that ad hominem, that casting of one of the worst things you can call somebody a pedophile, in CW's direction, was cheap. Now, again, she took it out. I'm glad she took it out in a way that's a retraction of the statement. And I'm all for, okay, I might actually be speaking after the fact. In other words, you already took it up, and I'm just kind of, I'm kind of catching up a little bit. Plus, I have a bud, man. CW is my friend, and I really, really detested that behavior. And I know he felt like some people didn't support me. You had my support, but I'm once again, you went out and smacked her hornet's nest. and I'm not going to go over there and put myself out for her hornets to come over and mess with a channel that generally has a fairly sedate comment section. And because we didn't have a meeting sitting around where CW goes, you know, I'm going to go after her. Okay, what are you going to say? Well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Well, how about you just stay on this and you don't kind of like go after her so much? This way here, you won't plug in her people. We're talking about substance and not about people. You know, but no, we didn't have that. He did what he did, and then we're left to react to it. And these are the kind of things I think we want to avoid. Similarly, and again, we have our little teams, but my concept of team and what competition is, I only compete with myself. I will look at others to see how they're doing, and maybe, oh, are they doing something that I'm not doing? But it is it's all about my art. It's just like playing the bass. You know, I mean, I have my own style, but it, you know, it was from listening to Paul McCartney, to Jack Cassidy, to John Entwistle, James Jamerson, Carol Kay, endless. Chris Squire, whatever. Jack Bruce, I could go on and on. Timmy Bogert. But none of, you know, it's always been an influence, and that's kind of like how I think how we can do things. But as a team, I don't like to compete with others. I only compete with myself. And the competition is in integrity, creativity, honesty. Yes, you know, we can hang there. I'm going to stop for a second because I'm getting ready. What did I do? I'm here at 27 minutes. I'm going to switch to Uncle Butchie and the things I plan to do, because I think I kind of made a point. Don't want to belabor it. Don't want to beat a dead horse. Want CW to know I support him, but I wasn't going to go whack the hornet's nest so they could come visit me, especially since I was not conferred with before that action was taken. I had no input into the action, into the behavior. So the results, so there was a cause and effect. And, but I do stand with you. I am saying that I thought what Rachel did was vile, calling you a pedophile. I think Rachel taking her video down was a good thing. I don't need to question the motives, because it's the actions that matter. I don't need to be inside her head. I just, you know, again, we have kind of like this public face, and where things are really obvious, and we don't have to guess. It's not so important what's inside their head. Their behaviors and their actions are their fruits that we should know them by. So that's one of the things. I mean, if we're going to stick together, we're going to have to. If we want backup, we better make sure that the backup team knows what we're going to do and gives you the thumbs up. Yeah, if you get in trouble, we're there. Where if you don't confer, the best we can really do is kind of, you know, put splints and bandages on you. And, you know, I think we could do better than that. So before I switch subjects, I'm going to look at the live chat. Hey, Groovy, glad to see you. See you. Just checking. Well, I wouldn't want to not say hello to anybody. And then there's also, I guess as a closing thing is, if we're part of a team and we're going to go after somebody, what is the fruits for the team? And if we go into battle, can we win the battle? And so a big part is making good decisions. Do we enter into battles where we're vastly outnumbered, and really the best we can hope for is looking good losing? I know that's not how I roll. Because timing, a big part is timing. Things are dynamic. Things are always shifting, and sometimes a plan that it's like, no, this will suck, this will stink, this will blow up in our face, we will lose. But that same thing at another insertion point might actually be brilliant. And so the whole thing is to think, first of all, when it does it, we have to be logical. After we're down to logic, then we go in the heart and find out, is it wise? We want to be informed by our emotions, but we do not want to act emotionally. Emotions are not meant for action. Emotions are feelings. They're data sets to consider. They're input to understand and to know how you feel about something. But then the other thing is, why do you feel that way? When you want to do something, why are you going to do this? Is it logical or is this emotionally driven? And is it wise? Because the heart chakra is wisdom. The kind of love that's in the heart is wisdom. It's not eros, it's not philos, it's agape. It's a completely different thing. It doesn't fail. We all see romantic relationships fall apart and people even hate each other. So that means eros, one of the forms of love, doesn't stand up. We've seen people who were like the best of buddies, best friends, were like brothers, won't talk to each other, call each other names. That means philos fails, or brotherly love. Only agape doesn't fail, and that's because it's wisdom. That love is wisdom. And it understands that, especially eros. Eros is something we all, that can usually use a little guidance. All right, I'm done there. Let me check the live chat before I change my subject. All right. So, going forward, as I mentioned earlier, Joe from the Carolinas, somebody's been on Groovy Bean Show. Yay, Groovy. Did a live performance with his punk band, Filthy Weasels. I'm not really so much into punk. It wasn't a great sound. Well, again, we're listening on YouTube, and I'm listening on crappy speakers. So who knows, if I pumped it into some real speakers, maybe I actually could hear the bass. But I didn't. Except for the first song, the bass starts it. I heard the bass. Very trebly kind of bass. Very, very punk kind of tone. Did I really enjoy the music? Yeah. I'm not gonna say I didn't like it. It wasn't my kind of music. But did I like what he was doing? Fuck yeah, man. Joe, play anything. Anytime you got, put it up. So anyway, one of the reasons I was so stoked is there's a place around here that makes yurts. And they have a pretty good size factory, where they make it. And I recall them kind of having a corner that would make a perfect setup for a three-piece band like Uncle Butchie and other little folk type things that are around here. And I want to approach this woman kind of doing live streams from Floyd, Virginia, so that Floyd and her yurt, Blue Ridge Mountain Yurts gets advertised. And I'm thinking about trying to start it off once a month and do live streaming from Floyd of Uncle Butchie, probably have an opening act. And but to do that, first I have to get that coordinated. Already checked my band, they're up for it. I already checked with other people that might play, they're up for it. I have to concern myself with the internet connection, which shouldn't be so difficult there. And then also being able to capture the video and the sound in a way that is fairly rich. I want to look for other people who might be able to do the engineering, especially since I'll be doing bass playing. But it's something I'm looking to do at least once a month, and then if it really catches on, move forward. I'd like to do it either probably on Saturday nights, because right now in our kind of community configuration of timing, right now Saturday nights is a very open time, and I think adding live music, that would be like a regular thing, and just promoting a cool place like Floyd. Very cool place in southwestern Virginia. And I can go outside. I dress in leggings and a tunic, and all my stuff. And occasionally people will give me a second look, but half the time they go, "Oh, I really like what you're wearing." And this will be from local Appalachian kind of local people, beautiful people, hardworking people, very musically oriented. I mean, it's very arts and crafts, or I mean, there's so many arts and crafts. People can make chairs and rugs, and I mean, it's really great. So I really am looking forward to kind of developing that. And I left a comment on Joe from Carolina's thing. It's just this is us maturing, where we're no longer just doing like talk and live streams. We're now, I mean, now, live from. I mean, I would like to try to get like a regular time where it's like, ooh, I wonder who's on live from Blue Ridge Yurts tonight. And Uncle Butchie would be a little bit of a mainstay. I'd like to kind of keep it to a 40-minute set. This way we can recycle some stuff. It'll make him bring out more of his music. It'll probably bring in some of my music. I think it would be an amazing thing, and I'm very excited because as we try and tell people, please tune out the mass media. The whole thing is, let's create another media, and I would like to do these live streams with a live chat. People, can even input. It might not be talking to me. It might be talking to my engineer, but I really want to create something dynamic and very artsy, and just lots of fun. So let me take a look at the chat, see what's going on here. Angry Samoans. Interesting. Yeah, I love his. Yeah, that's it. I mean, again, he's this other person. He does this sustainable living. To me, permaculture is core to the new paradigm. And actually, I was thinking. I mean, one of the ideas I had for like a little company was New Paradigm Production, and I might do these live streams, locally as a New Paradigm Production. If you see my eyes go down away from the camera, it's because I'm reading the chat. Yeah, I mean, it was just such a gas, and when you see somebody enjoying themselves and with their band, and I mean, they were tight. It was great. I loved it. I loved it. And and this is the other thing. To me, when we're really team members, it's like, I developed this idea, and then I see Joe do it. It's like, oh, it's not like, oh, he took my idea. It's like, oh yeah, somebody else is getting the idea, somebody else is doing it. Great. That means more. And that's why, like I say, if we compete with others, it's that mindset is a loser's mindset. To look at what others are doing, so you kind of get a lay of the land, you see what's popular. But to me, it's also, you see, like, some people, oh, they're popular because they're doing what everybody is expecting. And then you look for ways that you say, you know what, I'll borrow a little from here, a little bit of this, because it'll make it recognizable, it'll be somewhat familiar, and then I'm gonna be subversive and insert some of my own unique stuff. And that's how you're creative. And if you do it right, you'll be the brilliant one. But generally speaking, let's say you become, all of a sudden you're the person who's most sought after. Enjoy that while you can, because the natural wave function of life means at some point somebody's going to be more popular than you, and you should celebrate it, because if you're all part of a team, if this is a team movement, a community, and we all identify with each other, to see somebody else sitting there in your team means that's you, because you're part of that team. So you don't get into that whole competitive thing. If somebody's doing better, you might ask why. I mean, I have under 1,000 subscribers. CW has north of 2,000. Part of it is because he's from his way of lolz, LOLZ, is, I guess, very familiar to a lot of people. I know how I could double my subscriber, triple it. I know the kind of things, I know the raw meat things. I will not go there. I will not be a butcher. I'm not into butchery. I'm not into offering that. I will do what I'll do, and I will get the audience. I will get the people who want to pay attention to the message. And my message is, you know, where I'm coming from is my own sense of integrity and new paradigm production, and where I would like myself to go, and where I go, I would like to see lots of smiling and happy faces with me. A Blue Avian Band. And Uncle Butch Robbins, who is the center of Uncle Butchie, he has a really beautiful Christmas song, and I'm really hoping to be able to, even in my own basement, get a reasonable performance of his Christmas song. It's a new song to us. We're still figuring out parts to it, but I would love to get it together and put out, because it's a beautiful, you know, he plays it on the banjo and, you know, 3-piece. It's a really sweet song, and I really would hope to be able to get it up. I don't care if I get it up on December 24th. I just hope to get it up before Christmas, and so I'll see if I can make that happen. We have 2 rehearsals this week. We have a Tuesday and a Friday rehearsal, provided the weather cooperates. And so, you know, I'm going to say, hey, come on, let's get this. I mean, you have a Christmas song. Christmas is, you know, less than 10 days away. You know, let's how about maybe we even dedicate our rehearsal to get, like, let's do multiple takes of this song until we get one that's good enough, and then we'll put it out there. But I really would like to borrow somebody's video camera, because I'd like to make it an audio visual rather than getting good audio and then I put up nice little, you know, kind of Christmassy type things, or just kind of, you know, visions. I just had a funny thing. I don't know if you have been following one of the new things that have come out, at least on Minds. I'm on Minds.com, and I recommend anybody else to maybe consider Minds, because Facebook is, I'm sorry, I have nothing, I won't say anything bad about Facebook, but I have nothing good to say about it. I think it's dangerous. Matter of fact, there's an article out about somebody who put together Facebook, and he called it dangerous. It is fucking dangerous. And to me, it's if you want to be gang stalked, put something on Facebook. You will be gang stalked. It's just a shitty place. And so for me, if we need to, you know, it's just the new paradigm I don't see the new paradigm and Facebook working together very well. I don't think the new paradigm and Twitter are going to work together very well. That's why I now have a Gab AI account. Took me, I don't know, about 2 weeks to get it. You don't, I mean, it's not like you just roll up there and get it. It takes a while for you to get it. They have a very seriously encrypted thing. Oh, great, groovy. I got to tell you, I consider that incredibly good news. I mean, you just warmed my heart with what you just put in the chat there. So anyway, I'm on Minds.com. I put up my videos. I could boost it. I get nothing. I mean, I really do. I could, you know, take something out of my, I could take one of the better photos out of my erotic collection and put it on my thing, and I'll get 15, you know, times the thumbs up of you know, putting up an Uncle Butchie video. It's I'm not that thrilled with the crowd at Minds. It's still a lot of turd flinging monkeys. But it isn't Facebook. And I've never really tweeted. I use Twitter as an auto function, because it's plugged into YouTube. So, like I know, when I finish this stream, it gets tweeted out. But I've never really tweeted. But I'm thinking about playing with Gab AI a little bit. But it might, you know, because again, I mean, I find Minds to be, it's good because it's uncensored. And they have an E-filter, and the E-filter is for explicit content. And I have my E-filter disabled so I can see everything, because I like erotica. But I have to admit, I'm seriously considering enabling my E-filter, because I don't know how many more times while I'm scrolling through Minds I really want to look at somebody's asshole. Bleached or not. I mean, it's just like, ah! I mean, and I'm, you know, again, I'm a grown man. You know, I've had, you know, I'm a musician. I'm no prude. see, you know, and I just don't want. So Minds is a strange place, but it isn't Facebook, and I think it's a place where groups can form. Gab AI seems to be a fairly good replacement to Twitter, because a lot of the things are going down. They're starting to mess with what people say, you know. And of course, for certain people, oh, they're really messing with the conservatives. That's a tag. I don't play that stuff. We have things to say, and you know, let's judge them on their merits. To me, somebody doesn't have a conservative or a liberal thing to say. They have, to me, an intelligent or maybe not so intelligent thing to say. I just read something by Lee saying, laughing my ass off. That was hilarious, but a little much anal talk the other evening. Let me tell you, I think I'd rather hear talking about anuses than scroll through about 5 pictures of eye-to-eye contact, and one of those eyes is brown. So, I think I've kind of covered it. I wanted to give some support to CW, but I just also want to put out, you know, again, if we're going to be doing things together, we need better coordination. If somebody's going to go out and pick a fight, let the rest of us know you're going out to pick a fight first, so we can tell you, yeah, we'll be there for you. No, that's a dumb idea. You're gonna have to pull that one off yourself. Obviously, we're not going to let them rend you limb from limb, but you know, you might need a few lumps that remind you the next time you think of doing the same thing. Maybe you don't do it. Or at least you come to your buds and go, okay, this part is absolutely valid. This part is kind of like, oh, this smacking the hornet's nest. And, you know, so now you have the input. Do what you need to do. You know, you're an adult. Hey, Rufus Cat, my brown-eyed girl. That's a good one. That was a good riff, Aaron. I like that. So I think I see that we have an elapsed time of 47 minutes. I think that's plenty of time for me to kind of probably overtalk all subjects. But I'm starting, you know, it is Saturday night. Saturday night has been a kind of a, you know, a live stream dry period, especially in the evening period. I'm quite sure at some point before midnight, CW will probably have a live chat because he's trying to keep we'll call it a promise, you know, a statement, an assertion he made to himself and to us that he would do a show, one show within a 24-hour period, or one show every calendar day. And you can see him, well, I'll call it lawyering, which is mean like lettering, you know, where if he has gone the whole day and all of a sudden he's going, oh shit, it's 11:55, and he hits live stream and goes, hey folks, how you doing? He's kept his word. And he's correct. He did. So, and the pressure of doing a thing a day, yeah, it's something. I mean, really, if you're a content creator, you know it. If you're not a content creator, it's very different. And like the first live stream I did, it was a very different experience than the 2 years of sitting in front of a camera, saying what I want to say, and then uploading it and whatever. You know, the whole thing of, you know, how's the stream going, who's saying what, the fact that I had accidentally just before, like at 7:59, a minute before I was supposed to go live, I realized that I had deleted. I thought I was deleting one thing, and I hadn't realized that I had highlighted another, so that meant when I deleted what I thought I was deleting my camera. So I go to put my camera on, and I realize I don't have my camera thing, and then I'm looking around and go, which one? Because I've had my camera set up since I set up OBS months ago, and I almost couldn't remember how to do it, so it took me a little bit. So there's, you know, creating content is a labor of love. But it is a labor, but that's what being part of a team is that you say, yeah, there's some work there, and that's the kind of work that even though it's work, I don't know, I'm ready to do that kind of work. Okay. I'm kind of following the live chat, and Lee said something about making videos. Yeah, editing is a major pain in the ass. Kudos to those that edit. I might do more editing if I ever put the time in, because I do have a decent video editor. What's it called? It's called Shotcut. What is it called? Shotcut. I'm actually, there's another one called DaVinci that I might try. That maybe is maybe I would like it better. But one of the things is that whenever I have edited things, like let's say I edit a 100 megabyte video, when I edit it, it comes out half a gig. So obviously I have, and that's because in these things you have everything to what your canvas resolution is, your camera resolution, you know, bit rate. I mean, it's very tech to get it down. I've managed to get the OBS good enough that I can do a private stream. When I tried to add somebody with a Zoom last night, I didn't have the bandwidth. I really don't know how to cut the bandwidth down anymore without making this look like a badly preserved videotape. So until then, I think basically what I would need is a bigger bandwidth. I cannot afford the $20 to $30 to double my bandwidth from 3 megabytes to 6 megabytes. But the chances are having double the bandwidth would allow me to have Zoom people on, because that's extra. And I think part of that is when I run my Zoom, I'm using some of my 3 megabytes of bandwidth to support that person coming in, and then I need other bandwidth to upload, and I guess I get compromised. Yeah, Movie Maker is easy. I did use Movie Maker to my very first video. Gaia Sophia, it's called Paradigms Disruption. Gaia Sophia is our God. That was the very first video I ever put up on on this channel. That was my introduction to videos. Gaia Sophia is our God. And I got some interviews out of that. I spoke to Christine from Earth Empaths. A few people kind of got very interested in that, and as usual, it kind of dies down. And I did all that on Movie Maker, and I have 2 music videos up that I did on Movie Maker. But let me tell you, each one runs under 5 minutes. One of them took me 16 hours to put out, because Windows Movie Maker doesn't do its timer very well. It says you can time it, but the thing is and so when you're sitting there and you run it before you turn it into a movie, it runs effortlessly. You hit process, and when it's done processed, a lot of the time it gets lost. It gets sloppy. But if you're not doing that exact timing, I mean, I was doing things where I was trying to have a picture appear on a downbeat. Like, the music's going along, I have a picture, a downbeat comes, I want the picture to be there on a downbeat. During the setup, it was happening on a downbeat. After processing, it happened before or after, and it just, it's like, Things like Shotcut and DaVinci, apparently, when they process what you told, when you set it up and you process it, it'll process what you told it. But am I complaining about Windows Movie Maker? No, it's free. But so is Shotcut and so is DaVinci. Except DaVinci wants you to give them an email. That's it. That's all he wants, your email. Where with Shotcut you can just download it. You don't need it. So I might go for that one, or just kind of configure it. But for right now, I just don't edit things. You kind of get what you get. Like last night, at the very end of my live stream, I didn't know it was very confusing, and I thought I had stopped streaming. So I'm kind of like, doing things you normally don't do on camera, like, oh fuck, what's going on here? Ah! Like those kind of noises. And then I go in and I saw that even though I had hit stop streaming, now it had a drop down menu to confirm stop streaming. So it doesn't always do that. So it was like one of those things. And so I thought, I'd like to edit out that last 10 seconds. But right now, the way things are configured, something that took me 45 minutes to upload would have been turned into something that took me 3 hours to upload. So for now, I'm not doing any of that stuff. So I'm going to wrap this up. I think I'm really happy to see, got 9 people here. I hope, and also, Saturday night, if you're not out and if you don't have anything, you know, we're looking for something to do. And I'd like to just kind of, you know, have a live stream. It allows us all to kind of get there. Rufus. Yeah, I'm the same way. To me, to me, that slick production value, to me, that's us following a model. That's not to say that, oh, slick is bad. No, no, no. Slick is to me, there's no right or wrong. You want to produce the best that you can. But again, the last thing I want to do is go, oh, this doesn't look as good as a broadcast on NBC. I don't want to look like that. I don't want to have all that fancy light stuff in the back. And I mean, you know, the glitz, the shimmer, the shiny things. I don't really, there's no way I want to emulate that. I want to emulate arts, craftsy, organic, dynamic, gothic, witchy, jungle. I mean, it's, you know, like let's celebrate the earth and not a bunch of plastic and lights and things like that. And I know we're going to do it. I know we're going to do it. And yeah, Groovy Bean's a great artist. We find there's so much real creative artistic talent in our group. Musicians, artists. I'm quite sure we have to have poets. And I think as we're now starting to coalesce, as a little bit of cytoplasm fills in the various parts of autonomy and creates more of a kind of a cell, you know, an organism, things will start to congeal, and I think we're going to become far more magically creative. And as we say no to that world and create our own world, we can bring our values into it. And what I like about doing a live stream with music is it's about me in my real town with real people doing real things, and then taking that real thing and putting it onto what we have here in YouTube, you know, in the cyber world, and taking the excitement of what's real and organic and using the technology to transmit that goodness to everybody who wants to partake of it. Yeah, Narc Ignite sounds awesome. And so that's the whole thing. It's like, even now, as we put these ideas out, and we all, you know, in a live chat, we all get to see these ideas, and we, you know, and we start reaching out, or we work with each other. But we're going to have, I think, we're gearing up to really create something of very real substance, and we should focus our energies on the positive. Really. You know, this is a time we're probably we're going to need a lot of energy, and I don't really think we should be wasting our energy trolling others and then dealing with the hornets that will chase us after that. It really is, you know, the more we focus on ourselves and competing with our own integrity, competing with, oh, we're here, what can we get here? And why? Well, because there's things like art gigs, you know, I mean, again, the additions isn't more is better. It's just that there are better things that we can add to get more. So as I'm winding down, if anybody, you know, I don't think anybody really has any questions for me, but I don't need to close it immediately. We're at the hour mark. I'm gonna want to keep this to around an hour, but if if anybody wants to ask me something, this is a good time, because I'm done. I'm done with what I had to deliver. And then I'm going to roll the cigarette that I intended to have before the show, and I'm glad I didn't. I enjoy smoking, but I enjoy smoking as little tobacco a day as possible. I don't smoke cigarettes. I smoke tobacco. I, roll my own. I only smoke organic. I have two. Yeah, I have two people who love me dearly. They send me all kinds of great stuff. And so, in one of their care packages, they sent me this, which is that's the pick. I forget. This is like one of their more deep ones. And then I have this one. And of course, they all say 100% natural, 100% additive free. And people look at that and they think that means organic. Sometimes, natural and whether organic is organic. Additive free doesn't mean it wasn't grown in a chemical soil, unfortunately. And tobacco is notorious for picking up lead or some other kind of fairly toxic heavy metals. It actually likes it. If it's in the soil, it will put it into the leaves. So, and I consider tobacco to be a medicine plant. And in the Native American tradition, it was given to the people by a being known as the white buffalo calf woman. And it really does help to keep the archons, the flyers, the fourth dimensional pestilence. It really blocks them. It's an amazing thing. So I can see the tool that it is, but like any of the sacred herbs, if you're just kind of like mindlessly using it throughout the day, that's not how it was intended. No medicine is meant to be used mindlessly. It's meant to be used with intent. And there are times where I find myself smoking a cigarette and not really paying attention to every delicious inhale. And also the subtle effects that it has on my psychology that often put me into kind of semi-altered good meditative states. And that only happens when I kind of have nothing else happening. Even watching a video and smoking a cigarette is like not full things. I used to have to always go outside and smoke, and that was beautiful because I was in nature with one of her herbs, one of her plants, getting fresh air, and especially during the winter, you take a few hits and you run back inside because you're freezing your ass off, and you leave, and then so you have like two or three trips outside on the same cigarette, and that'll keep you smoking down. Is Joe here? No, that's Joe M. Okay, I saw somebody say hi, Joe. Oh, Joe with the Carolinas here, because I wanted to read this. Really, I wanted to gush on what he did. So I'm just going to roll back a little bit because when I go into talking mode, I don't do. What about feeling that not all people talk to one another in the group? Well, again, we run into things about what the word group means. Now, I mean, there's healthy ways of, what does that mean for definitions, not lawyerly things like Bill Clinton did. Is what depends on what the definition of is. So. Groovy's asking a good question here. She said the different channels, the community, for me, in my opinion, not all talk to one another. I was just curious if that is an issue. What his opinion? She was talking to Darcy. You can't, we have to want to seek each other out, and clearly, and this is just an observation. This has nothing to do with, behavior ratings or something. There are people who are kind of like have a practical joker's sense of humor, which I never had. In other words, like putting a tack on the chair when somebody sits and suddenly jumps up. Ow! It's like, that's not funny. I mean, I grew since the 7th grade. 6th grade was the last time I was in a classroom with the other gender. From 7th grade until 12th grade, I was in all boys schools. So I got to see that kind of humor. My dad wasn't a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of it. And my father was a Marine. Okay, so my father wasn't like some kind of like little Lafitte person. Oh, that's so nasty. No, he was an adult. And that's why he didn't go for that kind of humor. That is childish crap. And so I've never been a big fan of it. But apparently, there's a lot of people on the internet. Their form of LOLs or LOLZ is very kind of cyber practical humor, where the fun kind of comes, basically where the fun or the lols come at the expense of another human being. And that sucks. In my opinion, that sucks. So I don't do it, okay? Because I think it sucks. When I see other people do it, well, I don't do it, so it's obviously I don't smile when I see it. But that's one of the things. So when Groovy's talking about different communities, like when CW does a live show, and a lot of the people who enjoy what he does, part of that is the kind of entering the bar and calling everybody a loser or something. I'm kidding. I love you, bro. And you do. Lisa, you're saying you do. And it gets kind of tricky because of the different styles. And again, when you have parties, I remember went to a very fancy wedding of a very well-to-do thing, and they had a side tent, and basically the side tent was where kind of like all the it was at a marriage ceremony. Basically, all the unmarrieds were in quote unquote the non-adult tents, which was a kind of like almost like an L off of the main tent. But all of the young people were in there, and all of the adults were in. And let me tell you, in that non-adult tent, some of the people were in their 20s. So, and it worked because they were different ways of socializing. And so that's one of the, that's where things are a little tricky, is when you have different styles of socializing. Hello, Doc. Hey, Doc Illusion. Good to see you. Doc Illusion, that's the name of it, by the way. That's the name of Doc Illusion has a YouTube channel by the name of Doc Illusion. If you put it in there, I get 2 Doc Illusions. He has a very unique, you can see it. If you see what his avatar is, if you dial it up, you'll see there. He's working a lot on, he works from John Lash's metahistory.org. I've seen him read from that. And he also works from the Nag Hammadi texts. And he's doing his Gnostic thing, and I acknowledge him and consider him a Gnostic buddy. So anyway, I just want, he could use a few subscribers if you want to subscribe to him and check out what he's doing. And the styles of the, let's call them the sub-communities in the greater community, can make things a little tricky, because if one group is comfortable, putting tacks on each other's chairs and dumping drinks on each other's heads while they laugh, if that is what works for them, it would really be, to me, it would be like really snobby of me to go, oh, that's terrible. That's why we kind of have these little different paths. And that's why I really consider the live stream that Raksha and CW did on Thursday night to have been a huge success, not only in what CW had to offer and Raksha, and seeing 2 very contrasting styles of YouTube content creation within one community, and then the fact that 2 styles of groups mixed, kind of like the Moose Lodge kind of group, Mystic Brew group, Groovy Bean, Nox Mente, And then then you start, getting into some of the shared ground of, like, Jerry's Hive, and then, into full-blown CW Chanterland. And Chanterland, it's a different town. But as we proved on Thursday night, we can hang together. We can hang together, and the reason we can hang together is because we actually do care about each other. We actually do love each other. I know I think there's probably certain people who go, "Oh, don't get mushy, Mudwiz. Now you're gonna make me have to leave. How can I stand here when you talk?" But so I won't belabor the issue. I stopped to read the chat here. Yeah, I can see I'm very animated tonight. That's good. I'm looking at the playback of. I'm now, because I'm reading the chat. I get to see kind of like what I did 10 seconds ago. So it's kind of funny to see just how animated and how much of it. And it's also interesting to see just how much I really should go shampoo my hair. Yeah, brother. Hey, Doc, man. I tune in and I see you. I see you doing a real solid effort to have a really difficult conversation, because I mean, you know what they've done to Mama. You know how they've buried her, how they've turned her into a whore, called her Venus, and just kind of done everything except acknowledge her. So I just, anybody who's trying, I feel, to help bring back the consciousness that we had once upon a time, before we got before we got Abrahamed, let's call it that. But something, a lot of us picked, it's pretty easy, and the Abrahamic religions are kind of like the mainstream of this alien influence, but the Zoroastrians get left out a lot, and I've done a fair amount of looking into Zoroastrianism because there's some interesting memory when I kind of go visiting in what we would call back in time, some interesting stuff from the Zoroastrian period. And also I'm interested because John Lash posits that the Gnostic movement kind of has its roots in northern Persia, with the Magi, and that it was kind of in a pagan milieu. Let's call it the Vedic type of pagan milieu, and then when Zoroaster came out, he kind of created this darkness, this real clear darkness and light. Plus, he also introduced the male sky god. I mean, in earnest. Okay, he buried Mama. He really buried Mama, and the Magi, were all about Mama and the wisdom that we have been collecting for tens of thousands of years. And so, of course, and then, of course, he dies. And as soon as the founder of anything dies, the priests come in and form their fuckeries. So, there is some really primitive Zoroastrian writing that I have found somewhere that isn't so bad. But the moment the priests move in, it sucks. To me, Taoism, again, it's an ism. I mean, you can read the Tao Te Ching, and you can get great wisdom, and then you find out what Taoism is, and you go, oh my God, man, you guys added an awful lot of stuff. But that's what priests do, because priests are a pretty useless bunch. So they kind of justify their existences. I don't know, I guess there was, something, there was one other thing, and now it's because cult. Okay, Groovy's been dealing with that subject head on. And has definitely taken heat for it. The Sphere Being Alliance is a huge group. Got a lot of soldiers, a lot of people on the field. A lot of people on the field looking for a bad guy, a villain, the villainous, somebody of the Dark Alliance. They're out, man. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. And from a strategic and tactical point of view, it's a bad fight. From a fight point of view, not from the morality, not from the ethics, not from the desire to assist people either getting out or avoiding that alliance. But they're pretty well organized, and they're built. The whole thing is built on the same salvationist thing, the same salvationist theme that comes out of the Abrahamic religions, or even Zoroastrian, because it's based on somebody's going to come and save our ass. We're in trouble, and somebody's going to come and save us. One of the problems is nobody really knows the real trouble we're in. Nobody. I mean, part of the Gnostic message, why I like people, like what Doc Illusion is doing, and why I always point to the work of John Lash. I don't point to the man John Lash. I point to the work of John Lash. And it's because that disconnection from how we were on this planet, how we derived our sovereignty, what our cosmology was, that was huge, and that is what's missing. And that's what people like myself, like Doc Illusion, and really given tools to me by people like John Lash, who took years and years out of his life before he wrote Not in His Image. And which is, to me, one of the more, if you're interested in this thing called the Gnostics, I don't use the ism word with Gnosticism, at least not for what I do. I do acknowledge a Gnosticism, which I consider a big umbrella, and it's anything of Gnostic thought. And then I believe there is kind of more of the ancient mystery tradition, old school, pre-archontic way of what the Gnostics were and the mystery religions. Okay, who joined us? I see David. David Null. Hello, David Null. And so when it comes to cults, I really want to try and clean up the language. Cult, in many ways, is short for culture. And cultures, to me, if you want to understand a culture, let's look at cheeses or yogurt. I mean, think of how many different cheeses you can make. Hello, CW. Think of how many cheeses you can make from cow's milk, because you can make cheese from sheep milk and goat's milk. And excuse me. Think of how many different cheeses you can make from cow's milk. One medium, the same medium, cow's milk. And all these different cheeses, and what makes the difference is the culture, or the bacteria, the culture that you put in them. That's what allows us to have all these different cheeses. There's something so that you have a specific everything. So in many ways, humans are the milk. And then we have different agents that will come in and then take the milk and give it a specific, more specific identification. A unique smell, unique color, flavor, identity. So like when we think, right, in the modern day, the word cult is kind of, always creepy. But like, in other words, in the ancient world, you had various cults. You had like the cult of Dionysus, you might have the cult of Cybele, the cult of Demeter. And what these were small groups who dedicated themselves to a specific energy. And they had, so there were certain libations you might use, certain flowers, certain hymns, whatever. So this small group of people, when, let's say, it was like the festival day and it was the Dionysian festival day, these people, the cult, that these small groups of cult could take their culture and they would then bring it out into the open and have a festival. Because they could sing the right songs and have the flowers and all the trappings and set the atmosphere. For Dionysian things, who knows? Maybe they start drinking and screwing each other out in the middle of a court or something. I mean, I don't know what it is to get the vibe rolling. Hello, Brandon Young. And but the various cults were keepers of a culture. And then, of course, that was within the greater, once we're getting into the historical world, so Mama is already dropping, Mama is like on the periphery at this point. I'm talking about Gaia Sophia. But still, some of the cults were there. And so many of these cults were the ones who kind of knew what to do on a specific holiday and would come out and they knew the dances, and so they would be the performers for these things. And so they were just the ones who, I guess you could call them OCD enough to like a specific thing and hold it together, and when that day came they could unpack what that was and everybody could enjoy that. And then if you move through Demeter time, they would come out and they knew all the things, and this allowed everybody to you didn't have to belong to a cult, because the ones who did belong to the cult would then bring that out there. It was, in other words, so the cult was insular, but the insularity was really to preserve to kind of protect that little body of knowledge, that particular culture, that particular cheese strain. And then when the festival came out, they brought the cheese out. Okay, it's Roquefort night, and then another night would be it's Limburger night. No, not Limburger night. So, but that's not what cults unfortunately mean today. And I like to think part of the reasons why cults are not as wholesome as they were is because in the ancient world was a little more wholesome than the modern world. The modern world is under a full archontic lockdown at the moment. The full lockdown has lots of openings, but it's a lockdown nonetheless. Oh, so Brandon Reno said he was just reading about the Demeter cult, so here goes. That's the synchronicity bell for Brandon Young. It's so fun to have to be live, because now because sometimes when people do synchronicities, I ring the bell but nobody hears it. Now they can hear it. I'm reading the thing here. Hey, CW, are you still here? You're gonna have to say hello. Actually, you don't have to say yes. I'll just ask you the question. You're gonna do a live stream tonight? Because this way here, watch my timing a little bit. Although I've already been on for almost an hour and a half, and even I have my limits. My moon is in Gemini, and according to one of the books, this gives me the gift of gab. Gift? Okay. So the New Age. Lee, I liked the New Age when it first started. It made a lot of difficult to find stuff like as easy as going to the New Age section of your bookstore. And but and I liked it because it seemed like, oh yeah, the old bad way where you had to be prepared to get certain knowledge, that whole system of you got to be ready for the knowledge before they give it to you. It always seemed unfair, even though I had a fair amount of that knowledge. It just kind of always seemed, it's like, oh come on, that seems like hoarding. And then the New Age broke out, and basically all this stuff hit. This is before YouTube and the endless easy bending of words. I mean, when you have a book to write, you don't play quite as easy with things when you just sit turning on a camera and opining. And to me, what I see in what happened, the mess, the slop, the confusion of the New Age, which actually made me reconsider about why they held back certain things before they gave it to people. You know, again, I've always been, a person for the people. I'm an Aquarian. I got that water here. You all go, people. But then you find out some people are taking that water, putting it in guns, adding a little arsenic, some ironing fillings, something else, some lemon juice, and squirting it in people's eyes. And it's like, no, that's not what it was meant for. So I actually see a parallel between the current complete confusion of the New Age and what happened and what we read in the Nag Hammadi texts. This is a good way to kind of tie the two things together. In the ancient world, you had as the mysteries. There were lesser mysteries and greater mysteries, and a lot of the lesser mysteries were grounding and mathematics, being a carpenter, being a mason, agriculture, husbandry, animal husbandry. And so, and then, you'd kind of have skills. You become like a solid participating member in your community. And then there was other stuff that came. And then the grand initiation was the personal experience of Sophia. And not that you had to do it, but, if you hadn't done it by then, there was a kind of a way of making that, of having you have the experience of her that led to gnosis, where it wasn't a belief system. You had gone there, you had experienced it, you knew this. All right. And so, but what happened to me in the ancient world was the new kids on the block rolled in. And in this case, there would be, we'll call it like teachings like gematria, Kabbalah, those kinds of systems, magical systems, the things, things like Solomon did, which were, and these were and in many ways, I feel like what it was is, you had people, floating around the world, maybe in the lesser mysteries, and they're working their way up towards the greater mysteries. And I'll get to that, Joanne. To the working up to the greater mysteries. And now that you have this kind of group of people that go, oh man, please, you don't have to do all that. Learn a little Hebrew, do gematria, learn Kabbalah, learn Enochian magic, open up these portals. There's all kinds of beings who want to speak to you. Yeah, I know they do. The ancient world knew all about those beings and knew to leave them alone because they were bad news. But so you have all these kind of people who might have been feeling kind of left out. It's like, oh man, they're not going to teach me the mysteries, the motherfuckers, keeping all that shit to themselves. Oh, you mean I don't have to learn a whole lot? I can just kind of like learn how to maybe do this magical circle and then say a bunch of names, and all of a sudden, the sky starts shaking and shit, there's actually somebody that shows up. Yeah, sign me up. And so, because you hear it, when I read the Nag Hammadi texts, I hear all these words that only come out of the new system, concepts that only could arise from the new system. And then, so when I read the Nag Hammadi texts, it's kind of like reading New Age gibberish. You're seeing, you can pick out the wisdom in there. You can see, hey, once upon a time, there was a coherent story in here. But boy, a lot of junk got added. And that's what the New Age has become. And then some people, I've even heard, like somebody who I enjoy, Miguel Connor. He has Aeon Gnostic Bite Radio. And he represents what I call the Nag Gnostics. He has stated time and time again, you know, it's a the Gnostics were an early, you know, early first centuries, and this is the other thing, that whole BC AD thing, that is nonsense. I mean, as far as a marker, it's just, I mean, again, when would like, you know, the official date of the pyramids was 2500 BC. That's 4,500 years ago. Why do we say 2500? Why do we have to use math? Why do we have to do this very silly math of take the BC number, add 2000, and that's your number? It's just goofy. But I mean, but it is a serious marker. That zero mark is kind of like, what's behind that zero mark? That's the ancient world. Don't pay too much attention there, you know. But anyway, the Nag Gnostics are very, very much, you know, again, they're basing their stuff on a Nag Hammadi texts, and so for them, the Gnostics were like a 1st, 2nd, 3rd century AD movement that had a lot of Christianity, and it was kind of like a Judeo, kind of old ways Judeo-Christian syncretism. And like I said, I read some of the Nag Hammadi texts, and it's painful. I mean, especially the early stuff is the Gospel of this, the Gospel of Paul. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's like it's very much a Christian movement. So he kind of takes that stance, and it's not real. It's not logical if you're looking at the whole thing. And plus, I listened to it. He interviewed John Lash. John Lash gave him a history lesson, but apparently that was John Lash's opinion to him. So we kind of, we have the Gnostic thing is a little bit interesting, but it's certainly helping. Anything that's going to talk about our Divine Mother, a completely different cosmology. The interesting thing is that cosmology includes the newer cosmology because it knew about it. But that's another story, because this really was about this. That I'll say that from that kind of talk from Monday. So anyway, somebody asked me a question, and it was from Joe M. So I have to scroll up and find it again. Looking. Ring that bell. Okay. That was for Brendan. Okay, what are my current thoughts on Casey readings and Hopi prophetic information? To say that I've really read the Hopi, in its entirety, I can't say I've done that. So what I know could almost be useless. Although, I mean, I'm being a little harsh on myself. Now, with regards to Casey, his prophetic, here's the one thing that I think I see that seems to be correct. Because obviously much of the way the Earth was, like, in other words, the 90s or even the 70s, I mean, there was supposed to be some serious Earth movements. One of the interesting things is I live in Floyd, Virginia. Floyd, Virginia was mentioned as one of the safe places by the Edgar Casey readings. The reason Floyd, Virginia has probably more hippies than any other small town in Appalachia is because they were the ones who read Edgar Casey and wanted to get back to the land and realized they would want, and they wanted to be in a place that would be safe during the earth changes. So whole groups of people moved here, started farms, started communities, opened art centers. I mean, they actually brought something, and that's kind of why they fit in. They came in and brought their gifts to a community that didn't quite have some of those gifts. And so anyway, but they came here. But the reason the hippies colonized Floyd is because Edgar Casey mentioned it as a safe place. And it's got an incredible energy. We have lots and lots of white quartzite. I got a little piece over here. Now this is a little covered in mud. And let me I'll go to my live camera so I can kind of see what I'm doing here. This is white quartzite. Okay. Now, we have regular boulders that come out of the ground here, but when you go by all the cow pastures and farms, you will see boulders of this sticking out of the ground. You will see this white rock come as boulders and large rocks more commonly than any other rock here in Floyd. White quartzite. I mean, we're all used to kind of those grayish kind of boulders. You will sometimes see a huge outcrop, and it's all white. So it's a pretty interesting place. I do like it. I do like the milder winters. These are some really great people. I really love it in this area. Obviously, most of my friends are the hippies, but even in the hippie groups, because I'm a musician, we're getting some locals, and we all meet at the arts. Once you get into art, I mean, if some guy comes along and goes, "Hey, you dirty hippie, man," whatever, but you have your instrument on, he starts playing, and you can play with him, you're not a dirty hippie anymore. You become a musical brother or sister. And so the art, the arts, that's who we are. We're creative. Again, we have company. We're haunted, and the ones who haunt us, all their creativity is mimicry. They're just mimicking us. They're parasitizing our wonderful creativity. Okay, so some reason, so anyway, I want to finish up with Joanne. So the Casey stuff, Floyd is a great place to live, even though so far the rest of the United States is, as far as, earth changes so far, has been safe. The one thing he said was that the light of the world would arise in Russia, but not a communist Russia. That seems to be becoming kind of true to me. And we won't look so much at the political Russia that we see in the news, although you can see little glimmers. I think what he's talking about is the Russia that gets revealed in the Ringing Cedars books, the Anastasia books. There's a deep soulfulness there. There's a real ancient, deep connection to the earth there. So that's kind of okay. That's my Casey thing. The Hopi thing. What I like the most, I think, about the Hopi, from again, that's useful for me because I haven't done the reading. I know about the Kachinas, but apparently they have their story of they emerged after they emerged from the ground. Hello, Raksha. But also there is they claim that they originate in the Pleiades. And that, for me, the reason I like that is because from a Gnostic Gaian Sophian perspective, it doesn't matter where you came from in the galaxy. And especially because of what I consider to be the Earth being unique, because it's an aeon that turned into a planet. Most planets do not have aeons at their cores like we do. So it's kind of like we have an advantage that other humanoid species do not have. So it makes a lot of sense for other humanoid species to go, okay, we send out a colonization there that has our DNA, but they live on that planet, and now we quantumly entangle with that wonderful experiment that's going on, so that any results from that experiment apply to us as well. Quantum entanglement. So that's, so for me, I sometimes like to use the Hopi, and I support them on them saying that they have an origination in the Pleiades, but their whole thing, but they don't go, oh, get me back to the Pleiades, I'm stuck on this planet. They know that we're sent here, their purpose is to be here. And there's no, it's not like, oh, get me back to where, no, this is, you sign up for something and you go do it. And so I like to use the Hopi coming from Pleiades as a way for all these different people going, oh, I'm stuck on this planet and I need to get back to my home planet and all the rest of that whiny shit that I got no time for. You know, again, I'm a fierce Sophian. You know, if this is like the fucking planet in the galaxy, and that's why there's a lot of attention. That's why there's a lot of incarnation. I even see, if there's different people mixed in with our DNA, it's because they want it in the game. And the game is the luminous child rising and coming into its own, and becoming that sagacious species of this galaxy. I'm just reading, this sagacious species of the galaxy that knows how to laugh, that understands the secrets of the universe, and can still tell a fart joke. That, to me, that's the spirit of Sophia. Extreme wisdom, sagacity, humor, love, creativity, and pick it and flick it humor. So, that's my little take. Okay, somebody asked me one other question that I guess I can address, if I can find it. Thank you for the questions. I really appreciate it. Okay, Lee Veltman asks how I feel about Guy Ballard and that Mighty I Am Fluence. I have no idea who Guy Ballard is. Unless he's that blonde guy who laughs a lot, has a very sweet energy to him. Is that the guy? Guy Ballard? Is that the one I'm thinking about? So if that's him, yeah, I'm kind of familiar, but I mean, he's a sweet man, but I don't know what happened to him. I really don't. But if this guy, I don't know the word guy. I know there's a blonde guy with kind of longish hair. He just he laughs and he laughs, and it's good laughter. I mean, I listen to his videos because I enjoy them. But he's and he comes from a good place. He's coming from a good, loving place. But he says things, and I'm like, yeah, okay, dude. What the heck? Put out, but you're putting out that good energy. That's good. Oh, Saint Germain. Oh, please. I got no time for any of that stuff, Lee. That's all. That is all. That's all. To me, it's all theosophy stuff. Kind of thing, and the very word saint. If you put the word saint in front of anybody else, I'm kind of like, I don't even want to listen. The word saint is a real turnoff for me. So, I mean, I actually have. I don't know. So I have some of the theosophy books. I actually, went to their Lucas Trust down in Manhattan, and I don't know, something. I have like three, and they're small books, but they're very thick. And I kind of read through. I started reading them. It's like, oh man, this is so fucking archontic. Because again, it's the reason why they're so thick is because it's that Baroque, as in Baroque music, Baroque, that Baroque, labyrinthian, zigzag maze, like where am I in all of this kind of stuff, and this ray and that ray and whatever. Now look, there are rays, but the way that's the whole thing. What I don't like is like they take these concepts and then they kind of like, oh, but that's too simple. But there's like room to give me some Hollywood script writers. They know how to fill a void with really fascinating stuff. But that's, to me, it's just it's endless mazes. That's my experience of like the books written that are put out by the Lucas Trust. They read really well, but they're not organic, and they don't talk about mama. That's the other thing. You put anything in front of me, if you're not basing it on Sophia, if you're not basing it on the cosmology that the ancient world lived by, it's just like, you're archontic. You're new. You're new, you're full of shit, and you're still spreading the lies. And that's all this stuff is. Yes, many of the lies ride legitimate stuff. But I mean, again, I mean, you can take the purest mountain water. You only got to put a couple of drops of invisible pee-pee in there. It won't be toxic, but it won't be that nice clean water anymore. And you can add all kinds of things to beautiful clean water that also disappear, and you'd never know they were in there. And they're really deadly and dangerous, or at least will make you sick. And for me, much of the stuff like the theosophy is taking clear water and trying to dissolve a lot of imperceivable particulate into it, so that you think you're drinking this mountain water. I'm going to ascend drinking this stuff alone. And nobody likes a salty pee-pee. I love that, Raksha. So Doc, I see you. You put a thing here. Are you getting ready to do a hangout? I want to know that. I want to know that because I might want to participate. Anyway, I'm really glad. I'm glad Raksha's here. I'm glad everybody's here. Just having a, it's kind of like it's Saturday night, and CW hadn't gone live yet, right? CW's not live yet. Well, my live chat keeps on kind of going up to the top. Is anybody else? I mean, anybody else having buggy live chats? Brandon, truth, goodness, and beauty are very simple. And that's one of the, that's, to me, that's one of the things, and that's why I really like the description from the Carlos Castaneda books when the subject of flyers comes up. Because, let's say the word that gets translated as flyers from, I guess, whatever Yaqui word Don Juan used, if he existed, flyers and archons would pretty much translate into the same thing. And he starts out, when he asks about it, he goes, this is the topic of topic amongst sorcerers, at least the sorcerers of Mexico. So in other words, the archons were the topic of topic amongst those who could engage with the other world. And it was about them. They gave us their mind. And then they go on to describe how that mind works. And to me, it's probably one of the best. It's not a very long description. It talks about the Baroque, the complication, the taking of simple things and making them complicated. This is a signature. And once you kind of feel that signature of like something that you, as it's being said, you go, wait a second, this is like actually something good here, but it's much simpler than all this poo-poo that's been put on there. Or modeling clay. Just happens to be brown. That you start to get a feel for what that Baroque, and again, Baroque is not broke, Baroque. That Baroque complication, taking something simple and making it complex, taking something thin and making it thick, and it starts to become a signature. And you start to see it, and you start to see it even when somebody starts talking to you. I get in a lot of live chats, and sometimes I'll say something, oh yeah, and then the reply is like, man, that was very Baroque of you. And I run into it constantly, and it appeals most to people who might have a really good, rigorous, and robust intelligence, because that way of expressing oneself is full of details. So it makes you sound smart, makes you look smart. It even convinces you that you're smart. But it's fluff. It's like listening to the talking heads on the news, where a lot of people think that they sound really profound. No, they sound constipated. That's what they sound like. So let me read just a little bit more. Wait, somebody says, I inadvertently used Modwiz's least favorite word. I actually have to look for it because I don't know what again, everybody's playing, and I like playful in a big way. This is playful. This is good, playful, wonderful stuff going on here, brothers and sisters. Like, nobody likes a salty pee-pee. Yeah. Doc, thanks for putting in the good stuff. I mean, and this is just so cool, because I think taking, again, now, you know, now we're all mixing up. Brandon's right in there, and Brandon's done a lot of work, done a lot of study. Open-minded guy, really wants, you know, I don't feel he might, you know, we all have things that we're very fond of, but I don't think any of us are so fond that we're stuck. And so I'm gonna have to look at Craig and see what, I want to find out what my least favorite word is. Craig. Who knows? But I thank you. I mean, this turned out to be a lot more fun than I thought it might be. And I really did this. I really want to support my sister Groovy, our sister Groovy Bean. You know, I think it's interesting to talk about, because she, you know, about the allure of messages. You know, I know the skill and what qualities to get things done that Groovy brings, Yvonne brings. She's just, you know, a hard worker, full of energy. She's great. And so obviously she heard the siren's call of whatever the message was coming out of there, which is really a kind of a salvation, you know, a little bit of a salvationist, but again, based on the New Age kind of message, you know, love and light, let's all get together, disclosure now. I mean, it's, you know, so obviously it has an allure. A lot of people were attracted to the message. It must be an attractive message. Our own beautiful sister Groovy Bean was initially attracted to that message. Because of her skills, she very quickly found herself sitting at the desk, so to speak. Sitting at the desk with people who were part of maintaining the culture. And I guess you know, between a combination of you know, being stepped on, ignored, and also being behind the scenes and going, ooh, gee, the message sounds, when the message is being delivered, it sounds like that way, but when the message is being crafted, yee. So, you know, our sister decided that this was bad news, and to get out, and oh, I can't believe I'm getting messages coming in. That's wrong. But so she decided to get out, and in own due diligence, it's kind of like, you know, if you come out of a bad neighborhood and you see people walking talking in that direction, you're going, yeah, you might not walk in that direction. Oh, but I'm going there because I want to see Corey Good, and I want to see this and heard wonderful things. Well, let me tell you a thing or two about that. And, you know, and so like, but I got my bags packed. I'm not listening to you. Fuck you. You know, and all the rest of that stuff. So, it gets really tricky. And, so I don't know where I was going at, and again, I got, what happened? Oh, okay, I'm going to end this because I got somebody who wants to chat with me, and I do have to have that chat with them. In case anybody doesn't know, I belong to something called Global Mission of Peace. I actually used to put up a bunch of their material once upon a time. But it's something that needs to happen, I feel, before it gets more public exposure. And I got somebody from there saying, you said you would talk to me tonight, so, and I realized, oh yeah, there's an obligation I have not filled, and here I am talking to everybody here on YouTube. But I want my closing statement. So we need to, if we're going to be a community, which is a team, coordination and communication between us all is important. And really, if one of us is going to go do something in another neighborhood, I think it's good to consult the rest of the neighborhood about what's on your mind, so that we can either brace or maybe even try to discourage you or encourage you, depending on what it is that you got on your mind here. Thank you, Brandon. And just that, yeah, that coordination of building a community, teamwork, and realizing that we all, since we're becoming like one organism, what one of us does affect the rest of us. And so it's kind of that really interesting thing of being completely autonomous. You're in a community by your own free will. That's why you're in there. It's like, I feel better with this group than by myself. But then once you get in a group, you are by yourself, you are autonomous, but you are part of a team. There's coordination things, and these are new skills. These are not basic skills. These are not skills that we grow up with. We kind of almost grow up with skills that are kind of counter to that. So we're learning new skills, and we learn the skills by one of us seeing something, sharing it with the rest, moving it forward, moving it outward, keeping it in a conversation, and greater coordination, and realizing that if one of us, any of us who is going to kind of come back and be part of the crew, if we go out and do something quite independent, we need to be mindful that the hornets don't follow us back to our village. There's some strategy to how we interact with people we might see as working against us. So I'm going to get ready to go say hello to my other person, say goodnight, and I'm just going to read the last things. Thank you. It's from Groovy Bean. Thank you very much. It warms my heart to hear the word sister. Truly, thank you, Lee. Thank you, Brandon. Darcy says fun stuffs. And then Doc Illusion, I'm going to kind of make yours a closing one. That's what I'm all about. Love how in sync we can be. And it's funny because I usually prefer to be alone, but this is my great work for Sophia. That was beautifully said, Doc. And with that, I will wish you all a wonderful Saturday evening or night or whatever. And I send my love to you all, and I feel it from you, and I thank you all for being here. So, good night, be well, and I will see you next time.